I had felt it for some time, like a low hum in the background of our marriage that I couldn't quite shut out. Claire had grown different, subtle enough that most people would never notice, but unmistakable to me. The late-night phone calls she insisted were work-related, the vague excuses, the small lies told with a straight face, all of it carried one clear message. She was preparing for something. And deep down, I knew what that something was. Divorce. The word alone landed like a blow to my gut. I had poured nearly 10 years into building a life with her. The house, the investments, the carefully structured future that looked solid to the outside world. It all suddenly felt fragile, like a wall with hidden cracks spreading underneath the paint. But I wasn't about to be caught unprepared. If Claire was planning her escape, then I had to secure what I had worked for. So I moved quietly. Over 2 weekends, I shifted assets from joint accounts into private ones, repositioned property documents, and tucked away investments in places she couldn't reach. No panic, no rash decisions, just deliberate action. I wasn't hiding a life. I was protecting mine. Every time she asked about bills or mentioned future plans, I kept my tone steady, never giving away the truth. My calm became my shield. The tension in the house thickened, though she seemed oblivious to the changes I had made behind the scenes. Then one evening, she came home from work in unusually good spirits. But beneath her cheerfulness, I felt the undercurrent. She began talking about a new opportunity. On the surface, a career move. But to my ears, it was laced with undertones of independence, of breaking free, of life without me in the equation. I listened carefully, observing the smallest details. The flicker of her eyes, the tilt of her head, the nervous tracing of her finger around the rim of her glass. Claire thought she was steering the conversation, measuring my reactions, waiting for me to betray my vulnerability. But I had already prepared myself for this moment. Finally, she dropped it. Lightly, almost casually. Maybe it's time we consider a separation. She expected shock. She expected me to beg, to cling, to crumble. Instead, I leaned back, let a faint smile touch my lips, and answered with a calm certainty that caught her off guard. Maybe it is. But I'm ready. The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that presses down on the air. She blinked, taken aback, her confidence cracking for the first time. She had imagined herself in control of this moment, but the ground had shifted beneath her. The days that followed were lined with quiet tension. Claire tested me with her usual tactics, provocations disguised as casual comments, veiled questions about money, hints at independence. But each time, I responded with patience and composure. No panic, no confusion. I let her realize, piece by piece, that the man she thought she could manipulate wasn't standing in front of her anymore. 2 weeks after I had secured everything, I noticed her behavior shifting. Her once effortless confidence began to falter. She spoke less about her grand plans and more in vague, uncertain terms. I realized then that she had counted on my blindness, on my passivity. She thought she could quietly orchestrate her exit while I remained in the dark. But her miscalculation was the very thing undoing her. One evening, she came home tense, her small talk stilted, her eyes searching for cracks in my composure. But I gave her none. Instead, I decided to make it clear without anger or accusation. Claire, I said evenly, I've taken steps to protect my future. If we're considering separation, it will be on fair terms. No hidden moves. No manipulation. Her lips parted slightly, a sharp intake of breath betraying her surprise. She hadn't expected me to act first. She hadn't expected foresight or clarity. For the first time, I saw her wrestle with the realization that the game she thought she was playing was already over. From that night on, the air in the house changed. Claire moved carefully, her words measured, her old provocations faltering. The control she once wielded had dissolved. The balance between us had shifted. What was once her quiet advantage now belonged to me. Over the next several days, I observed her with quiet detachment. Her confidence was gone. She second-guessed her words, hesitated before bringing up money, avoided pushing for leverage. Her silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. She knew, though she wouldn't admit it outright, that the terms had changed. The final test came when she attempted to float the idea of a joint investment, a thinly veiled probe into whether she still had access. My response was simple, steady, and final. I've already secured what I need. We can talk about shared plans, but only with honesty. Manipulation won't decide anything. Her eyes widened, and in them I saw something unexpected. A flicker of respect. She understood now that foresight and calm preparation had outmatched her hidden strategies. By the end of that fortnight, everything had changed. The house no longer carried the same tension. Conversations, when they happened, were stripped of games. Claire no longer tried to push boundaries with false confidence. The unspoken truth lingered between us. She had underestimated me, and that mistake had shifted the foundation of our relationship. I sat alone one evening, the hum of the house steady around me, and felt a rare sense of peace. Not triumph over her, not vengeance, but relief. I had acted decisively, intelligently, without anger clouding my judgment. I had shielded my future, my dignity, and my peace of mind. Betrayal may come quietly, creeping in through small lies and shifting glances. But foresight and preparation turned betrayal into nothing more than a failed attempt. Claire learned that without a single explosion, without a dramatic confrontation, I didn't need shouting or accusations. I had only needed clarity, patience, and the will to act before the storm could hit. In the end, I realized something simple. When you protect your future with calm strength, no one can take from you what you've rightfully earned. And no one can manipulate a mind that already sees the truth.